say we're going to go Mitzvah Hashem. Today we start getting involved in the issues of tea, one of the biggest sugyas in Mamish, all Hilchos Shabbos, certainly in Hilchos Bishul. It's certainly the biggest topics in Hilchos Bishul. Like Mamish, one of the most famous Mishnah Berurahs. Mishnah Berurahs you've gotten on the path. I'm sure by now everybody's learned the Mishnah Berurah Baal Peh. And all that's left for me to do is maybe just synopsize a little bit to give a little bit of a summary of the Mishnah Berurah. But by now everybody knows Mishnah Berurah Baal Peh. And Bez Hashem, we're going to go into it. I want to just mention, Klape, I spoke yesterday, Klape butter on a baked potato. So I should mention that my findings, now I admit that these findings are subject to change and they're subject to feed the country. And I certainly don't know, Rabbi Pekanowski, what's going on in Australia. I really don't think anybody does. And Lemaisa, my findings are, then in the meantime for Eretz Yisrael, and I did look into it, it seems to be this is also true for America, is that margarine, for example, margarine is not cooked. What do I mean margarine's not cooked? Inside margarine, there are many products that are not cooked. There's oil in there, there's water in there, and it seems to be that there are the oil and the water, it seems to be will have possibly, yes, been cooked, but there are flavorings in there which are not cooked. Now, I'm not taking a chayas for the statement. I'm just trying to bring out a point. If a person is going to talk about butter and then say, I could take a butter and put it on baked potato, because I said yesterday, the fear of Moshe, you could. But you have to realize that nothing is created equal. Butter is butter and margarine is margarine. And it's very possible that you won't be able to take margarine and put it onto a baked potato because there are chalakim of the margarine which are not cooked. This is a very common thing, Rabbi say, in products in general. In general, in products, there are many foods that are could have one or two ingredients that aren't cooked. You can have in every food, you can have one or two ingredients which aren't cooked. I'll just give you an example, right? I gave you the example now, margarine on butter, which I think it's a very common case. If people were having butter, potatoes, and for whatever reason you ran out of butter, you'd probably turn over to margarine, and then you wouldn't realize that it wasn't cooked. And now you're putting it on a baked potato, which is a davar gush, and we're machmir lechatchila on a davar gush. So that's just an example of something that you'd have to be aware of. I'll give you another example, everybody say. I was thinking yesterday, once it hit me this example, ice cream. I didn't make ice cream. Ice cream is made with raw eggs, I think, right? I think all the eggs in the ice cream are raw, if I'm not mistaken. No? Mm-hmm. And also inside the ice cream, you can have other type of things that are all raw inside the ice cream. Most of the products inside the ice cream are probably all raw. No, I think that's, does everybody agree before I continue? Rabbi Danziger, I think, just agree. You came late, so just agree and just say yes. Just say yes. Okay, Akapanim. And no, Rabbi Spitzer, I think all the ingredients in ice cream are raw. I'm not talking about a milk ice cream now. Also, I'm talking about a powerful ice cream. So what's an afkamina? Sometimes you want to, like, this is your mamish, your Einik Shabbos. What's your Einik Shabbos? You want to take ice cream and you want to pour on it boiling hot fudge, right? Mamish boiling hot fudge. No, Rabbi Danziger? You heard me, Rabbi Danziger? You like pouring that boiling hot fudge. So what do? You take the hot fudge and you're gonna, and this is very negeya for the mashal, because now Rabbi Greenhouse just came back to Eretz Yisrael, for example, and he's going to be in his house for the next 2 weeks. So he's going to be looking for all types of interesting hobbies, right? So for example, he's going to start probably cooking and baking and whatever. So he's going to probably take hot fudge, put it on top of the cholent pot, and then mamish gevaldig, or Friday night they'll leave it on the blech or whatever. Then when it comes time for dessert, he's going to take that boiling hot fudge, which is mamish kli rishon, it was on the eish, and he's going to pour it on his ice cream, because that's his Einik Shabbos, right? That's mamish's Einik Shabbos, right? And the chayra, what we're saying now, so there are parts of ice cream which aren't cooked, and the chayra, the fudge should be mavashal those parts. Now I know what you're thinking. Well, ice cream is freezing cold. It's going to take time till it gets cooked, and Iyar in the first place. I don't know if we have a Kabbalah on these things. If Chazal tell us that when you take a boiling hot liquid and you pour a boiling hot liquid, so then I don't know. I would imagine if you take a boiling hot liquid and you pour it onto even ice cream, we have no reason to believe that that's not going to be mavashal a kedei klipa. Yeah, no, tata gover just means, Rabbi Lieberman is asking, what about tatai gover? Of course, I'm not saying that it's going to cook the whole entire ice cream, but it's going to cook the outer layer of the ice cream. And this is a good example because the person, you wouldn't think like ice cream has uncooked product, ice cream has everything uncooked. Or for example, you have, let's say, a hot cake. I saw somebody threw in this idea, but you have a boy, Nussi already is thinking of ideas, like a boiling hot piece of fudge cake. Yummy, right? And now he wants to put on top of the boiling hot piece of fudge cake, like some ice cream or something. So there you don't even have tatagover. Right? Forget their tatagover is going to say that the fudge cake is going to cook the ice cream, right? So you have to be careful. What would you do, Rabbi Favel? What would you do? What would you do? So what you just do is you'll just take the fudge, you pour it into another kli. That let's say it's in a silver beckel or something, so you take it, you pour it into like another kli. It's already going to be a kli sheni. And now from a kli sheni, we're going to see that Iyar from a kli sheni, that already is not going to be mevashel. I'm just saying, but you have to be aware of this, Rabbi said. By Lang, there's no games. You got to be aware of things that aren't cooked, and you have to be aware of which things, you have to be aware of this. So that's my something. I'm seeing a question over here. For some reason, Tully Feldstein keeps on raising his hand. I don't know why. Tully's raising his hand again. Just remind. Oh, yeah. Now, everybody say. I hope yesterday we spoke out a lot of the rate of droplets and everything. It could be that these concepts they're new. It could be these concepts are new, and because it's true, Rabbi Danziger, the spoon itself, Taka, would also serve as a cliche. Was that your question? It flashed on very quickly. But that could also be a cliche. We'll see about all these things. But the concepts are based on droplets and everything, secretion. I hope what we said yesterday, the halacha of the mice is clear, but we're going to go over these things a lot. And today I really want to get to the Indian of tea. And that requires us to get a little bit of a background over here, two backgrounds. Now there is a now these things, I see the others asking me questions about fudge and chocolate and these things. I'm going to talk about, Rabbi say. It's nothing to worry about. It's not the last that you've heard of these topics. Bez Hashem. I want to give you a little bit of background over here, Rabbi say, before we get into tea. There's one topic which I saw that Rabbi Yitzchak placed on the Marmakoimis. I'm going to mention it bekitzer, but again, it's not so much our sugi. That's why I'm not going to be marich on it. And that's the concept of makeh bepatish be'oichlin. It's a zaytik sugi that comes up here in a very, very long bir halacha. I just want to tell you two nekudas that come out of halacha l'maisa. There is a sheet of lavush over here in our simon. The sif that we're talking about over here is an incredible chiddush. At the end of the sif, it talks about, we know that there's something called the kli rishon, and we know kli rishon's mevashel. We know there's something called the kli sheni, and we know a kli sheni officially, kafi the Gemara's rules, is not mevashel. We're going to see in a moment that a kli sheni, we're afraid that maybe a kli sheni is mevashel certain things. And therefore, we're going to have certain chumras. This is what's known as Kali Bishul, and I'm going to come back to this in one moment. Then, from that point on, l'chayra, we don't find that there should be something that cooks in a kli shlishi until today's shir. But we don't find that something should l'chayra cook in a kli shlishi. L'chayra. But the mitzvah Hashem, I'd chazayin in a moment. So comes along the Shulchan Aruch over here with an incredible chiddush that at first glance seems almost taimadik. It says over here that that whenever you cook something in a kli sheni or whatever, it's no problem. Chutz min amaliach hayoshan umin a dag that's called kulias aspinis, the Spanish herring. The Spanish herring. She'ain srichen bishul el ma'ah. It doesn't need bishul, only a little bit. But the chasam hi gemar malachtan. Oh yeah, unbelievable. If you take hot water, and it says over here in the Paiskim, even from a kli sheni, Shabir says you're taking from a kli sheni and pouring from a kli sheni. Rabbi said when you pour from a kli sheni, that's an Iyar from a kli sheni. We never heard anything that should be also Iyar from a kli sheni. And if you take it and pour it on this herring, so then this is already an Isser Gomer and Zui Gemar Malachtan. Adkan, the Mishabur over here in a very long bir halacha, and also in the Mishabur a little bit over here, he's bothered. What is this? Mazah Isser Hazeh. All right, it's not a kli rishon, it's not a kli sheni. And what is this business that you're putting it into a kli shlishi, into a kli revi, into some far out kli? You're pouring on from a kli sheni, which is tantamount to a kli shlishi. And it seems to say over here that that's aser. So the Mishabura, the Bir Halacha, brings over here a lavush, a shocking lavush. Lavush says, Kol davar shu kosher ve'ein roi la'achila klal. You should know if you have something which is hard and it's not right to eat b'chlal. Also, l'shrois b'shabbos shezeu gmar melachtan. You're not allowed to. Why? even though you're not mevashal because of makeh bepatish. The Levush says over here that this is new rules. New rules. This has nothing to do with the regular rules of unbelievable. This has nothing to do with the regular rules of Bishul. Right? You know what? In my house right now, it's a chamsin. I'm being this bashal right now, so I'm just going to turn on the air conditioning so that you know that this is a live shear. I'm being this bashal right now. Oh no! I just turned on the heat. Okay. Okay, Rabbi said, now you know that it's live. Now you know it's live. And we should be, you won't be sweating in a moment. Don't worry. In a moment. You're okay now? My son-in-law just melted. Might be a shayla of noidlet. In the Levush over here, the Levush brings down unbelievable chiddush over here. The Prima Gadim quotes this Levush. The Minchas China quotes this. And he says an incredible aside that, you know what? By oichlim, you can have makeh bepatish. Unbelievable. By you can have makeh bepatish even by oichlim. The way he learns, this has nothing to do with if you're using hot water. If you take a herring, which was inedible, and you made it go from inedible to edible, so then that's makeh bepatish by oichlim. Now, I must tell you that the Bir Halacha is Meirich over here, and the big Aricha is Dibra Maskal Vadachasan. I'll just read you the last line of the Bir Halacha, where he says Hayotzim Midvareinu. I mean, that's cheating a little bit, but in the last line of this Bir Halacha, he says Hayotzim Midvareinu. You should know. He brings rayas upon rayas that there's no makeh bepatish ba'oichlin. It's a davar chadish. We didn't find it in the paiskim. There's steers to it, and ein la'achmir. And therefore, our Shulchan Aruch, he says, where it's talking about taking this herring and going and making from unedible, from a hard, bitter herring into some edible geschmacke herring. He said that's only if you're using hot water. And our sugya is yes, a sugya of Bishul. Okay, now listen, no matter what, there's going to be some chiddush in this Shulchan Aruch. Either the chiddush is going to be makeh bepatish ba'oichlin, and therefore even with cold water, you're going to take a herring and make it from inedible into edible, and it has nothing to do with Bishul, or it's going to say over here a chiddush in Bishul. Even though normally we know that Bishul could only be in a kli rishon or a kli sheni, but over here we found a kli shlishi. It's the only place there by saying the ganze shas and paiskim that you find a kli shlishi which cooks. Okay, and then it's according to the Mishnah Berurah, comes out an incredible chiddush. It's not a kli rishon, it's not a kli sheni, and there's no makeh bepatish b'oichlin. So the water has to be hot. But afal pikein, it doesn't have to be hot in a kli sheni. So we found an incredible chiddush of kli shlishi is mevashal. And that's what we're going to explain in Mitzvah Shem. That's what we want to come to explain over here. Before I explain it, the Paiskim discuss a side shaila about making seltzer on Shabbos. Now, how do you make seltzer? Those that are inexperienced take a bottle of water and they just like shake it up and down, right? That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is a soda stream that I see that many, maybe one of the reasons why he moved to Eretz Yisrael, right, is they have here these soda streams, and it basically is machnis into the water carbon dioxide, which makes it, yes, thank you, Vislansky, because the Olam doesn't know what it looks like. Right? Oh, you're showing them a bottle of seltzer? No, I thought you're showing them the soda stream. That's a bottle of seltzer, anti-Semite. A soda stream basically is some type of a machine that's machnis. Very good. Rabbi Olson's going to show us. It's machnis in the carbon dioxide into the water, and it takes all the, like in the back of the car, they have that stuff, the carbon dioxide or whatever. You put it into the water and it makes it into seltzer, and it's like so I saw over here that the Chreinim, the Maldiskin, they bring from the Shvisas Shabbos. You remember how much I love that Shvisas Shabbos is Akdama. And the Shvisas Shabbos in Perek Aleph, in Ois Gimel, he brings down from the Maldiskin, you see who his friends were, Rabbi Isai. These were the guys he was hanging out with in Yerushalayim 120 years ago. And he says, the Maldiskin Taka, he held that to make seltzer on Shabbos is an Isser of makeh bepatish. Makeh bepatish b'oichlin. This goes with the Levush. Now we know that the Bir Halacha taught us there's no makeh bepatish b'oichlin. However, you might be a little bit scared because the Igros Moshe, Rabbeinu HaGadol, Rav Moshe Feinstein, Zecher Tzadik Levrach, and Chelik Gimel Siman and Beis, he says it's a ksas safek ladina. He doesn't really get so spoiled from the Bir Halacha, and he says it's a ksas safek ladina. Ksas safek ladina, makeh bepatish b'oichlin. So there are those that want to say over here that you're not allowed to make this seltzer on Shabbos, right? Now, I'm not getting involved. Obviously, I'm not talking electric, and I'm not talking about if you have to make a hole inside the soda stream and things like that. I'm talking purely about adding carbon dioxide into your water. The Misa, I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand it, everybody say. I don't understand how in the world somebody could say such a thing as makir patish. I don't know. I don't know. Even if you want to be machmir and say that there is makir patish, which you saw the Biur Halacha said there's not, but to say that water when you turn it into seltzer is a makir patish, it's such a hard thing to understand. I mean, all you did was you took one taste. Rabbi said, why is carbon dioxide not a taste? It's a taste batsum in essence. It's just this is the taste that when you take it together with the water, that's what happens. It's like saying that if you're going to take chrein and put it on gefilte fish, you're over on bishul, on makir patish, or on kilayim, or on basar v'chol. It's a very, very weird thing. I don't know. 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 Maisa, the Hilchos Yitzchak has a tshuva and chelik tes simin lamed gimel, and he brings those that are machmir. He brings down, but we heard that Mora Nachsam Sofer was mekel. This is a great trivia question. Did the Chasam Sofer have soda? You know, did he not did he have? Did he have the ability to make it on Shabbos? Mamish murder. Right? The Chasam Sofer was mekel, and I don't really understand the tzad. So I imagine I'll be zeicha one day when we learn together makir patish to try and figure out what that tzad is. And like Jacob Resnick is asking, if you take salt and you put it in water, it would probably do the exact same thing. So I don't know. You can make the soda stream on Shabbos. This is a great thing to tell your shvers and your father, because like all the old men, they love this like soda stream stuff. They buy one, they're very proud of themselves, and then they come on Shabbos, and then they tell you, oh, it's a big problem because I see over here that the some achreinim, they want to be machmir on it, and whatever you come, you look like a big mamish murdik etam chacham, you tell them makel, so it's a kedai. But that's not our sugya b'isai. Then we had another sugya over here about making toast. I mentioned this in the beginning. Someone would say making toast is something soft into hard, and we spoke about why it's not considered bishul. Avad, it's not called bishul, but then we spoke about maybe it's called. Now they want to say maybe it's makir patish. Again, nachamol. This is why I'm kashim oid, and it's l'chayra not the pashtus. I'm not going to be marif so much on the sugya makir patish because it's not our sugya. But what I want to really get involved is the shitas mishabru over here. The shita of the mishabru over here. What the Kallus is that Kallus is usher not because of bishul, not because of makir patish, but rather because of bishul. What was nischadish in the Mishnah Berurah is that if you make something in a kli shlishi, there are certain things that can cook even in a kli shlishi. Now let's take a step back. Everybody say, let's go back to kli sheni a minute. We know there's something called a kli sheni, and the Gemara brings down a kli sheni. Is it mevashel or is it not mevashel? So the Gemara says kli sheni is not mevashel. A very emphatic statement. Kli sheni is not mevashel. Where's in the gay kli sheni not being mevashel? So I'll tell you, this morning somebody called with a shaila. They had a mug. They made a coffee in the mug. They put in the milk in the mug. And then they found over there was like a knife. They took like a knife and they went and they, stirred it with the knife without thinking. They stirred it with the knife. That's how it was. No, the knife was a fleischicken knife afterward. Right? After the knife was a fleischicken knife. So they want to know now, is the coffee tray, is the knife tray? What's the misa? The coffee has milk in it, and the knife has a blias. And okay, so you have to ask all the right questions. Was the knife a ben yoimai and whatever? No, but that cloud the knife's gonna get bit. But let's say the knife was mamish used last night to cut boiling hot piece of meat, and it would be a ben yoimai knife. That mamish, you take this ben yoimai knife, it was used within 24 hours for hot fleischiks, and you mix now a coffee with milk in it. So you're mamish cooking the blias of the meat that are in that knife into your coffee. So you're having a cheeseburger. First thing in the morning, you go to McDonald's, not kedai. So what's the halacha? So here's just an example, Rabbi Isai. If we say kli sheni ain't mevashel, we say, so there could be that if you would have done it with a treifa knife, so a treifa knife, all you have to do is give off blias. But mashenkin, when it comes to basar b'chalav, the Torah says, the Gemara says, derech bishul asa Torah. The Torah only answered when it's derech bishul. If the Torah only answered when it's derech bishul, so then maybe there's no bishul in kli sheni. Kli sheni might have blias, but kli sheni's hot, Rabbi Isai. We're not saying right now Rabbi Hirschhoff is drinking out of a kli sheni. You see that it's not going down so smooth, it's hot. Avada can give off blias. But bishul is dasnish. Bishul is a certain koyach that maybe kli sheni does not have. That would be an example of Baisai. Derech Bishul Azatayr Mosim. It's a Shem. Rabbi Kiva Eger wants to say this. We'll talk about this when we talk about Kli Sheni more bariches. But that's the concept. Kli Sheni Zayin Mevashal. Where does Bishul make a difference? One case is Basa B'chalav. In Kashrus, it doesn't make a difference there. Blias is enough. And Kli Sheni does give off Blias. Ayin in Yeredeya in many places. In Siman Tzadidal and Siman Tzadiyeh. Mashain Kain. When it comes to Shabbos, I need Bishul to be over. So here says the Gemara, Kli Sheni, emphatic statement is Eina Mevashal. However, and now, you have to understand, Rabbi Isai, when we say Kli Sheni is Eina Mevashal, Avada, we realize that the water is boiling hot. Rabbi Ershoff is drinking boiling hot water. Rabbi Ershoff, show everybody, put your finger and hold it inside the cup for a moment. Let's see if it hurts. Let's see. No, I just want to see. Keep it inside and let's see if it'll hurt. It's gonna hurt, right? Yeah. Hey, look at that. His nose is turning red. Now, upon him, a Kli Sheni is hot. A Kli Sheni could be Yatzaledis by. So hey, look at Taisus. Taisus asked the Kasha, what's going on here? Frek Taisus Tema. Rabbi said we have a Kabbalah that when Taisus asked the word Tema, that we have a Kabbalah from the Shla, I think, that we have a Kabbalah that if Taisus says the word Tema, the Kash is better than the Teretz. Listen to the Kash of Taisus, one of the most famous Taisus in all of Shabbos, in all of Shas. Taisus in Shabbos on the 80th page on Memo Mebase. It says, Shema Mina Kli Sheni is not Mevashal. Frek Taisus Tema, Maishna Kli Sheni from Kli Rishon. What are you talking? Hooray, it's boiling hot. If we're talking about this Taisus that's not Yatzaledis by, so then there's even in a Kli Rishon it's not Mevashal. Salamai, we must be talking about Yatzaledis by. If we're talking about Yatzaledis by Frek Taisvis, so then why doesn't it cook? Yatzaledis by should cook. And for Taisvis, I'll tell you like this. Yesh loymar lefisha kli rishain mitoich she'amad ala or. A kli, the pot that sat on the fire, doif noisav, its walls are hot, umachzik chaymoy, and it holds the heat. Because those walls were heated on the fires, man meruba, it can hold the heat. Therefore, if it's Yatzaledis boy, it can cook. Aval Kli Sheni, Afal Gavdi Yatzaledis boy, even though it's boiling hot. But Ein Doif Noisav Chamim, those walls are not hot because they didn't sit on the fire. The Hoylech U Miskarer. Taisus tells us the biggest side of Kli Sheni. The side of Kli Sheni is, you know why Kli Sheni doesn't cook? So Taisus says two things. He says, because the walls didn't sit on the fire. And memela, or also, it's therefore hoylechu miskara. In other words, Kli Rishon has a mila that the wool sat on the fire. If the wool sat on the fire, it can hold the heat. Says Taisus, but Mashen Kain, Kli Sheni didn't sit on the fire. So memela, it can't hold the heat. Now, if you listen carefully, Rabbi Yisai, it's two things. Right? What's the nakuda? Is the nakuda that I need the walls that are fire strong because they sat on the fire? Or it's enough that it's not being hoylech u'miskar. It's enough that it's not getting colder and colder. You think, what's the nafkamina? Is the bacher under the hat? There's the hat over the bacher. No, it's a very big nafkamina, Rabbi say. Nafkamina is, what if I'll find you something that it doesn't have the strength of the walls giving it chizik, but on the other hand, it doesn't have the strength of the walls taking away from its heat. What did I just say? I just said a lot of cases. That's, for example, a davar gush. We know there's a very big machlekes on a boiling hot piece of potato kugel. That was what she was inside a Kli Rishon. Now you take her out and you put her on a plate. She doesn't have the walls all around her making her cold. She also doesn't have the walls all around her giving her the strength to keep the dream alive, to give her heat. So what's the din? Do we say that it could still haltzach the heat, and therefore it's still called a Kli Rishon? Or do we say, no, it's no longer a Kli Rishon because it doesn't have the strength of the walls making it cook? Big fight. That's a Shaila Bedavar Gush. What else could you think of? Rabbi said a good example. This with all these things we're going to talk about. But let's say Iroi. Let's say you have boiling hot water and you pour it out of a Kli Rishon. So let's see. The Maisa, at least when it's in the air, when it's connected, maybe you could say it's still connected to the water, which is connected to the wall. But when it drops, when it plops out, when the water plops out, so now I'm not connected to the wall, but I didn't get cooled down from other different wall, from a Kli Sheni wall. So what do you say? I'll give you another example to think about. There's something called styrofoam. You know what styrofoam is, right? Pick up your cup, Rabbi Schlitzelfeld. Don't be cheap. Show us your cup. No, he's holding a styrofoam cup. That styrofoam cup, Rabbi say, you should know. I tried. I couldn't get a styrofoam cup. Right? Sorry, Moshe Lieberman wants us to know that in the UK, it's called polystyrenol. Right? It's very important for everybody from the UK to know that we're talking about polystyrenol right now. Right? Upon him, a cup that's a styrofoam cup is something that is an incredible chachma. Incredible chachma. The cup doesn't cool down the contents inside. It absorbs the heat and it works together with the heat to push back the heat which it was given. It doesn't get cooled down. But on the other hand, it doesn't have the walls that were cooked on the Kli Rishon. So what's it then? Rebelsky Zechron Levracha, he was very, very nervous about a styrofoam cup. They say a story that they say a Maisa. Somebody went to Rav Moshe and he started telling him about a styrofoam cup. And he said to him, Nusa, this type of klisheni, it's not hoylech u'miskara. So Rav Moshe said, yeah, Taka, Vaisai is such a kli. It's not hoylech u'miskara. So he said, what? So Rav Moshe holds that such a thing is Taka considered a kli rishon? He said, no, chas v'shalom. Avada not. Chazal said klisheni. They meant every case. He said, yeah, but it's Taka hoylech u'miskara. Sorry, but it's not hoylech u'miskara. So he said, yeah, no, Taka, it's not hoylech u'miskara. So he said, what? So Rav Moshe chalzuch Taka, so it'll be like a kli rishon. He said, no, chas v'shalom. Avada not. Avada, it's Taka called a kli sheni. Okay, so all these things. What else is a good example of this shaila by side? A thermos. What's a thermos? How do they say in English a thermos? How do they say it? They don't. A kapana they have over there. A thermos also holds the heat. Now I tell you, I want to do this. I did it. I did an experiment the last time in the Kallus. I forgot to do it beforehand. Right, a flask. What you do is like this. You take a potato. You put it in a thermos, and you're going to see that it's going to mamish sekochzach. It's going to cook it, right? You take the same potato, you put it in a regular klisheni, and you cover it. It's not going to cook it. You see that you can find really mitzias itaka mamish works. You could try it. do it with an egg. An egg, you'll see the same idea. Okay, an egg will cook even in a klisheni possibly if you leave it in for a long time. I'll have to do these experiments. I'm thinking about maybe tomorrow bringing out some props. We'll see. But I'll upon him. Lemaisa, Chazal taught us over here, the gather is tali, or is it the fire? Is it the walls that are on the fire? We need the walls that are on the fire in order for it to cook. I mean, it's Hashem. I plan on talking about this more and more. That's Hashem. But what's Negeya us, Rabbi Yisai, is that's a klisheni. Now, on the other hand, we have a big problem because the Gemara brings down in Shabbos, on Daf Mem Beis, a safek. The Gemara's a safek is salt. The salt cook even in a klisheni. That's the shaila of the Gemara in Shabbos. Does salt cook even in klisheni? Now, Rabbi say we just said a minute ago, klisheni is not mevashel. So what's going on over here? Klisheni, the Gemara says water, it doesn't cook. Klisheni, the Gemara says oil, it doesn't cook. Klisheni, the Gemara says tavlin, spices, it doesn't cook. Then the Gemara comes along with a shaila on Daf Mem Beis. Does a klisheni cook salt? And the Gemara brings two shitas. One shita, which we're going to learn in Sif Tes, the Gemara brings one shita that says salt, klisheni will cook salt. Yes, klisheni cooks salt. Then the Gemara has another shita, l'shnachrina. Not only does the klisheni not cook salt, Kli Rishon can't cook salt, and the only thing that can cook salt is if you're mamish on the fire. Okay? L'alacha l'maisa, be'emes we're mekel. We're gonna have certain chumras, tavla brachas. In Mitzvah Hashem, we'll learn Sif Tes, and we'll say the halacha l'maisa by salt. I care about one thing. I want one thing. I now see that, yes, Rabbi Resnick is asking, maybe our salt is different and everything. Avanda, our salt isn't salt, and our cranberries aren't cranberries, and our shkiyas not shkiyas, and our nidas aren't nidas. Everything's different today. Bez Hashem, we'll get there. But I'll upon him. One thing is bar. Listen closely, Rabbi say. I see now a Gemara that has a tzad that klisheni can cook something. Hagam the maskana is that no, by the way, salt, it's not true. But the Gemara didn't say, du bist abgefleckt im Ganzen, was bringt mir rein salt? Salt is no shaykh, was bringt mir a klisheni is eine mavashel. You see that a klisheni could theoretically cook something. There could be something. What's the lumdis? Because like we just explained, what's the reason why a klisheni doesn't cook? Because he doesn't have the walls to keep him strong enough, warm enough for enough time. And by the time that the water gets cooled down, already by that time, the food is already not going to be cooked. But let's say I have something gets cooked very, very quickly and doesn't care that the walls are cooling it down. I don't care. The reason why I cared walls are cooling something down is because I needed to stay hot for enough time, like my example, the potato in the thermos. I needed to stay hot for enough time in order to give it the constant heat. Mashenkin, if it's going down, 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 it won't be enough time, and then the item won't get cooked in a cliche. But Mashenkin, let's say I find an item that it gets cooked so quickly. It gets cooked right away. After 2 seconds, 3 seconds, it gets cooked. So then I won't care that the wall is cooling it down because it doesn't need to be having constant heat for a long time. So if it's the first second they went into the klisheni was yatzaletas for 5 seconds, and this is an item which gets cooked in a very quick amount of time, so then maybe a klisheni can cook that also. That was nischadish in this Gemara. A klisheni isn't mevashal regular things. But if I'll have something that's called kalei bishul means that it quickly gets cooked. So therefore, the fact that the walls are going to get cold, are going to get cooling down the water, it doesn't matter because all I need are the first 10 seconds, the first 20 seconds. That's the shaila that you're seeing over here. You see over here, mefurish l'chayra. You see that there's a tzaddik klisheni cooks, meaning, let me explain what I say. If Tosef would have answered, there's halacha l'moshe Sinai that the only thing is dumi at the mishkan and it's got to be kli rishon in order to cook, and a klisheni is removed from the tzura of the mishkan. Some evil xeris akasiv. No, beseda. So then it's xeris akasiv called too if klisheni doesn't cook. But now that you see not like that, you're seeing that if I have something like salt that theoretically the Gemara might have answered, it's not true. But what did the Gemara answer? The Gemara said because salt it takes a long time to cook. The Gemara wasn't chayzer on the premise. There's a premise in the Gemara that you see that a klisheni technically, theoretically, could cook something that doesn't need a long time to receive the heat. I said, besides the Gemara declared, what's the din of salt? Kamash Malan, salt is something which is so strong for carrot, it needs a very long time to cook, and for sure a klisheni doesn't cook, and maybe even a kli rishon doesn't cook. But Akapanim, the Gemara opened us up to an idea that a klisheni potentially can cook something that is called kalei bishul. Now, by say, we didn't learn yet the sugya of kalei bishul. Okay? That's Sif Hey. In Sif Hey, the Iraim is going to come along, and the Iraim is going to come with a kamoyridik chiddush. He's going to come along, the Iraim. Listen good, Rav Sruli. Tell your son this. This is more important than anything else. They must know what a klisheni is and what a klishlishi. A klisheni, says the Iraim, I don't know what gets cooked in a klisheni. Now I see in the Gemara, water and oil doesn't get cooked. Now I see in the Gemara, there are things that do get cooked. Says the Iraim, I don't know. We would have said, what would we have said? We would have said, I don't know. So you can assume until proven, what do we say in America? Guilty until proven it. No, innocent until proven guilty, right? In America, what do we say in America? Innocent until proven. What do we say in America? We say keep your hand in your wallet, your pockets, and nobody steals your wallet. But akapanim, innocent until proven guilty. So I would have said everything is mutter. That's what I would have said. If the Gemara says klisheni is not mevashal, and you have one shaila, maybe this thing is a kalei bishul, I would have said, why in the world should I be chayshish? Anybody else is on the team of the kalei bishul? But the Yereim, what was the name of the Yereim? The Yereim's name was scared. Yereim means scared, and the Yereim was scared. The Yereim, just like in Toichin, the Yereim says, I don't know how small things are when they're called, I don't know. And the Yereim, he had a lot of chumras, the Yereim, I don't know. So another example, the Yereim didn't know. He says, I don't know what cooks in a cliche. I don't know what cooks in a cliche. Did anybody here know? So the Yereim said, therefore, you have to be machmir on everything unless it's mefurish in the Gemara kol tuv. What's mefurish in the Gemara? Water, oil, and tavlin. And I don't even know which tavlin. That's the idea. But Rabbi say that's not our sif. Listen closely. That's in Sif Hey, and we didn't learn that yet. I don't know. The Yereim says Fishy had a chumrah when it came to Shkia 18 minutes before. Okay, I don't know. Okay, is Rabbi say that's Sif Hey. That's very nice. But what if you have to? Yeah, we're going to learn that in Mitzvah Shem probably tomorrow. Rabbi say, but there's a Mishnah Brura, and he says over here in Sif Kotin Mem Hey, that's in the middle of Sif Hey. He says, but once you get to a klishlishi. No. Nobody had any suffix by Kli Shlishi. Kol Tov. By Kli Shlishi? There's nothing to discuss when you come to a Kli Shlishi. We saw that by Kli Sheni, so that already got cooled down the walls, but maybe. But when it got cooled down by 2 walls, no. That we never saw anything that can be vachal. And the Mishnah Berurah says, even the chumras of the Arayim, but in the Kli Shlishi, that already you don't have to do. We'll see if this is pashut, if it's true. Mishnah Berurah is talking about a certain chumrah, and he says you don't have to do it in a Kli Shlishi. So you see, even if there'll be a concept of Kalei Bishul, but not in a Kli Shlishi. Ad Kan is what I think most people know. Rabbi say, now I'm starting the shir. Watch this. But before questions, I see the Olam's asking questions. Watch this. Rabbi say, watch this. You're about to have tremendous pleasure. If there was a bracha that you can make on the Gashmias of Torah, you would make it right now. Right? Anybody who made the Birchas HaTorah in the morning, I don't know if it's chal right now because you're about to have more or not. It's like a different level of pleasure. It's doimet when a person makes a bracha on, let's say, an apple, and he didn't know that he was having one of the Shivas Minim. He's going to have it afterward. He knew he was having fruit, but he didn't know on the Shivas Minim. So there's a shaila that it could be that the apple doesn't pata the Shivas Minim because the Shivas Minim is much more chashiv. So I don't know if when you made your Birchas HaTorah this morning that you were mekaven on this level of pleasure of Torah. On this level of Erev Na Hashem Lekein. The only thing I have a little bit of a necham is that probably some of you are before Shachris, you probably didn't even say Birchas HaTorah. But I'll go upon him. For the rest of you, you better maybe reconsider maybe call one of them and ask them to be mighty you in the Birchas HaTorah right now. The stomach we can get our friend Rabbi Greenhouse, who just flew in now because he's probably quite tired, and who knows when the last time he learned anyways. It's okay. I'll go upon him. I have a question. Listen to it slowly. Let's go slowly. Is Rabbi say over here? There's something called Kulias Spinus. Kulias Spinus, the Mishnah Berurah over here decides in Sivkot and Lamites. Where is the Sivkot and Lamites? Sivkot and Lamites is in Sif Dalit of Shulchan Aruch. As far as I'm concerned, if you're learning Sif Dalit of Shulchan Aruch, you do not know anything about anything I just spoke about. You don't know anything about Kalei Bishul. That's all coming up in Sif Hey. You didn't learn anything yet. For all you know there's something called the Kli Rishon, and that's it. Okay, we didn't get to, and you would know because obviously you're a normal person and you learn Gemara, and the Gemara says Kli Sheni is not Mavashal, and that's all you know. That's all you know. Okay, you have no tzad until Sif Dalid in these 39 Sifim of the Mishnah Berurah. Until that point, we have no reason to believe that you know anything about Kli Sheni, that it's going to Mavashal certain things. Right? There's no such thing. Why would you think that Kli Sheni is mavashal certain things? That's the sugi of Kalei Bishul. Certain things, yes. Certain things, no. It's a chumrah of the Arayim, Rabbi said. Not all the Rishonim agree to the Arayim. We're machmer on the Arayim. But most Rishonim say, no, Kli Sheni cooks maybe some weird thing and nothing else. The Arayim has a chumrah that Kli Sheni has the ability to cook certain things, Kalei Bishul. Okay, a chumrah of the Arayim. I'm now in Sif Dalid. Comes again the Mishnah Berurah with the longest arichas kemat in the whole entire chelik. And the Mishnah Berurah here has a whole arichas over here about tea. Where does he put his arichas about tea? He puts it in Sif Dalid. What's Sif Dalid? So Sif Dalid, let's go back upstairs. The Shulchan Aruch says there's something called Kulias Spinus. Kulias Spinus is a herring. The Mishnah Berurah told us this has nothing to do with Makeh B'Patish. And this has nothing to do if you're using cold water. About there's no Makeh B'Patish B'Yochel. No, says the Mishnah Berurah, but if you take Kulias Spinus and you cook it in a Kli Shlishi, says the Mishnah Berurah, Kulias Spinus breaks the rules of regular Bishul. And it says, I don't care if it's a Kli Shlishi. And it says, I don't care if it's a Kli Revi. All I care about is if it's Yad Saletis and hot. Anytime you touch a Kulias Spinus with Yad Saletis water, since it's so easily cooked, it just needs a hadacha cooking. The second it touches hot water, it doesn't make a difference how many walls cooled it down. It doesn't make a difference because it doesn't need to last at all. The second you take any level of hot water, which is called hot, and you go and you cook Kulias Spinus, that's called Bishul. This, the Mishnah Berurah brings from the Shulchan Aruch, and this is a davar muskim to everyone. Fakert, the chiddush of the Mishnah Berurah is that by cold water it won't work. But there was a tzad even by cold water. Okay, so the Mishnah Berurah says, no, it doesn't work by cold water, and it works by only hot water, and this is a form of bishul. When you take something and put it in a kli shlishi, and it's what's called not kalei bishul, this is what we're going to call super kalei bishul, not to be confused with super kalifragilate, whatever. You guys don't know what that is. Balkaponim, super kale bishul. When you have something that's called super kale bishul, so then that has nothing to do with, this is not Ureim. This has nothing to do with the Gemara of salt. This is something that everyone agrees to. The Haraya, because this is brought in Sif Dalit. No one argues on this. No one ever did argue on this. This is a Mishnah. And this the Mishnah Berurah brings down before you even opened up any sefer that talked anything about Klisheni and Kale Bishul. Here you found an incredible idea. Nothing to do with Klisheni. We're in a Klishlishi or a Kli Revi, and it's Yatzalet, it's boiling hot, and it cooks. That's the Shulchan Aruch. Says the Mishnah Berurah. Now, listen to the Mishnah Berurah and Sivkot Lamites. Zog the Mishnah Berurah, listen to the words. Says the Mishnah Berurah, V'atin Ivayr din bishul ale ti. Now I'm going to talk about ti. Hashayich bikama in yonim l'sif zeh, which is negeya our sif. What does ti have to do with our sif? What does ti have to do with our sif? L'chayra, if you would ask me, I would say, ti, you allowed to make tea on Shabbos. So I didn't learn sif hey yet. So I would tell you, I don't know, you're allowed to make a tea. Well, you obviously can't put tea, which is uncooked leaves, in a kli rishon. Then you ask me, no, Kallus, can I put tea in a kli sheni? I'll tell you, I don't know. The Gemara says water and oil you could, tavlin you could, and the Uraim says everything else you can't, because who knows? So I tell you, what's tea? Is tea everything else? I would tell you, I don't know, tea is probably like tavlin. No, tea sounds like tavlin. It sounds like a spice. So I would tell you, hey, you know what? Tea is probably one of the things that taka, maybe everyone will agree. You can put in a klisheni. Wonderful, wonderful. I can't put in a klirisha, and then it's a mitzvah to kill you. But a klisheni is not mevashel. So klisheni is not mevashel. Okay, so what's it not mevashel? It's not mevashel water. It's not mevashel oil. And even the Uraim agrees certain spices it doesn't cook. So I'll tell you, I don't know. Maybe taka I'll even be able to put in a klisheni. But okay, maybe not, because who knows? Maybe this is also included in what we don't know. So I'll be machmir. So tell you, no, you want to be machmir, but daf up in a high No, what are you going to do? You have to have a hot tea. So I tell you, what do you want from me? The Mishnah Berurah already told me in the next sif, in Sivkot Memhei, when you don't know what to do, just make a kli shlishi. Kol tuv. So you know what? Well, me, I'm a big tzaddik, a self-proclaimed tzaddik, as a matter of fact. And you know what? I'm not taking any chances. I'm making my tea in a kli shlishi and kol tuv. All of a sudden comes along the Mishnah Berurah, and he says, now in the middle of Sif Dalid, where I have not mentioned the word yet about klisheni, and I haven't mentioned the word yet about the Uraim, and he starts talking about tea. And he says tea is exactly directly related to kulias spinus. And then he starts screaming, and he says, people make a tea, and they're bemazed, and they're over on skila, and this and that. And then he gives you all types of aids to make tea. And he seems to be telling you that even if you only got the sif hey, you should already understand tea. So what's tea? What's tea, Rabbi Isai? So tea is kulias spinus. If tea is kulias spinus, Rabbi Isai, what did we talk about kulias spinus? Kulias spinus, we said, has nothing to do with Uraim's chumras. Kulias spinus, we said, is something that you're not even allowed to make in a kli shlishi because it's super kale bishul. So where did the Mishnah Berurah bring the halachas of tea? He brought it in Sif Dalid, which is the halacha of what? Super kale bishul. Super kale bishul. That has nothing to do with Sif Dalid, with Sif Hey. That is the regular rule of when you have super kale bishul, even in a kli shlishi and a kli revi, as long as it's yatzel lettuce, but it cooks. Do you know what it says in this Mishnah Berurah? The Mishnah Berurah says that tea is super kale bishul, and you can't even make it in a kli shlishi. And the dvarim amaduyakim lahafla, because the Mishnah Berurah over here goes with a whole arichis how to make the tea and scents and dos and yens, and he's got baking and roasting and cooking. It's a machtach meshige. By the time you get through this Mishnah Berurah, halavai headache, Rabbi Yisai, halavai. And that does the Mishnah Berurah tell you? I have a simple eitzah. When you asked Kallus 5 minutes ago, before he knew anything, he told you, you know what? You know how to make the he says, don't do a klisheni, don't do that. Rabbi say, shh, just take a kli shlishi, pour in a kli shlishi, and laza b'chalayim, nine. What's jeitzach a cup? Just go and make it in a kli shlishi. Why did the Mishnah Berurah give that eitzah? It's mefurish in the Mishnah Berurah, Rabbi say, because that eitzah, what shayches? We're in Sif Dalid. In Sif Dalid, kli shlishi is over. Avada, you can't do things even in a Kli Shlishi, because in Kli Shlishi, it's called Super Kale Bishul. You can't do even in a Kli Shlishi. Now, how did the Mishnah Berurah know that he is Super Kale Bishul? We'll see in a moment. But that's what it says over here. Before I go weiter, is there anybody who would like to argue now, if ever hold your peace, Rabbi Isai? Derech Agav, if you argue, you're out of the koilel. And you're out of every koilel. Does anybody want to argue? Simcha, you turned your camera upside down because of this incredible chiddush. You can't bear it, so your head is sideways from such a chiddush, right? Unbelievable. What if it's just under yad? No, so under yad lettuce boy doesn't cook, and that's totally if it's makabid patish boichlin. The Gemara only says Spanish herring, says Rabbi Fischel. That's a very good question. How did the Mishnah Berurah know that there's anything more in the world than super Kali Bishul? That's a good question. We'll see in a moment. What about a Kli Revi, asked Rabbi Lieberman. The answer is Kli Revi, Kli Chamisha. I'm not afraid of you, you English gatesheader. I'm not afraid of you. As long as it's Yad Taledis boy, it's enough. What about roasted leaves? That's a whole different shiloh. That's for Sifhei. Yesh Beshalach Rafia. We're going to talk about that. That's not for now. Are there any other questions? Any other questions? What about, I said, we'll talk about that, Rabbi Markstein. We'll talk about that. Roasted is a whole different shiloh. It's not our sugi right now. We're dealing with leaves that are not cooked. That's what we're talking about. Rabbi Sher, I saw you had a question, but it went away. What was your question, Rabbi Sher? Just be careful. I might throw you out of the koilel, though. Yeah, he took away his question. He knows that it's scary now. He's a smart man. Al Kapanim, no, Philip, he's already out. He's out. I'm not sure what that means. Okay, where's we lost Philip? Kli Shlishi styrofoam. No, Rabbi Blinder, Kli Shlishi styrofoam doesn't make a difference because that we have to see. It could be styrofoam. It might even have not a din of a klisheni. We'll have to talk about this. Is Rabbi say, but everyone understands the etzim chiddush. The etzim chiddush. And yes, Philip, you're asking a very good question. Why the Gemara didn't mention tea? Now, it could be in Baghdad. 2,000 years ago. But the question everyone's asking, how did Mishnah Berurah know this? That's a very good question. I'm going to maybe answer that. But Rabbi say, that's mafurish in the Mishnah Berurah. If anybody argues on this, he's arguing on the Rebbe, he's arguing on the Mishnah Berurah. Now, we'll see. There are those that want to argue on the Mishnah Berurah. Upon him, to say that you can make tea in a Kli Shlishi, the Mishnah Berurah, no side in the world. The Haraya, the Mishnah Berurah and Sivkot Memei brings down that when it comes to regular Kale Bishul, the regular things that we're machmar, go make it in a Kli Shlishi. Mashain King, when it comes to tea, he tells you what? This is connected to Sif Lamed Tes, which is connected to Kulias Aspinus, which the Mishnah Berurah says mefurish, that you cannot make it a Kli Shlishi. So that's up to at mefurish in the Mishnah Berurah, that you can't make tea in a Kli Shlishi. Game over. Game over. Now, the Maisa, if you want even more, it's mamish mefurish mamish, because the Mishnah Berurah over here brings a sefer Nesivas Shalom. The Nesivas Shalom is an old sefer. It's not the Slonimer Baisa. We're out of the Slonimer based medrash. It's a Nesivas Shalom. There's a sefer from hundreds of years ago. It's a sefer in Halacha, and the Nesivas Shalom says like this. He says, "Tea is aser." Shaharei, we see that tea is poilet tam, even in a Kli Shlishi, kemai kulias asbainis. And the Mishnah Berurah over here is quoting that sefer Nesivas Shalom on this sif. On this sif, the Mishnah Berurah is quoting Nesivas Shalom, and he's saying that tea is like kulias asbainis. So game over. Mishnah Berurah's sheet is you can't make tea in a Kli Shlishi. Now, where did the Mishnah Berurah get this from? So the only thing I can tell you is that the two great Gedolim that were born according to the New York Times in the same year, we don't hold like that. The New York Times held that the Chavetz Chaim was born in 1829 and he was 103 when he was nifter. The Maisa, I think we have a Kabbalah that he was 93 years old and he was born in 1839. But the Aruch HaShulchan, who was in 1829 born, he says the exact same thing as the Mishnah Berurah. Listen to how nifla this is, Rabbi Isai. If you don't enjoy what I'm about to say, you are a guy and a very ugly one. So listen closely, Rabbi Isai. The Aruch HaShulchan says in Tzivkotin Chav Hey, he says, after he brings the Yereim, now we're going to talk about this. He brings the Yereim, and he says the Yereim holds that a klisheni is taka mevashal anything, because we don't know. He goes on, he says, even onions, even garlic. He says, me, Saktar HaShulchan, I don't believe in this. Amnam near Ali, but klisheni near Ali. Actually, I read your line before. The Kviya Nira Lace later Abisenu, the Chilik Ben Klirishan of Klial Eish says, I don't know this business. Klisheni Ainam Avashal. Ve'ela shechmira b'klisheni, that they were machmir on certain things. He goes on to say, I don't know. I'm not nearly like Nichale. She's special. Psikration like Nichale. One say Klisheni nearly Dafila oyster nitain pasta. Mashava betzalim and shumim, onions and garlic. Vada in a Klisheni is mutter. No. I don't like this. He says in a Klisheni, v'layadati minal in the hachmir. I don't like it. He says Klisheni. We're not going to be machmir as much as the Mishabura. We're not going to be machmir as much as Dram. And in Mitzvah we're going to come back to this. So when it comes to Klisheni, the Aruch HaShulchan is much more liberal. 3 sifim later, and Sif Katan Kavches, listen to this. He brings down the Kevan Shenitzbayer that there are things Shahadachas on his Gmar Malachtam like Kulias Spinus. Listen to the Aruch HaShulchan. Now that we see there are certain things that with a little bit of heat already get cooked, Lefi Zeh, because of this. So then Hadavar Sheka'esev, the grass Shekarin that you pour hot water, Vidover Yedu, and it's known that the bishul is kal. So then afilu biklisheni, einenu royas, that it gets cooked. So says the Aruch HaShulchan, it's a toyis gadol, and avad it's aser, and he goes on to say, even in a klishlishi, biklishlishi bishul and kal. So the Aruch HaShulchan over here is mamish mefurish areid, and he's saying exactly like the Mishabura. Says the Aruch HaShulchan, how do I know that it gets cooked? Because einenu royas. Because I see that it gets cooked. But Al-Kapanim, what do you see from the Aruch HaShulchan? You see this has nothing to do with the regular chumrah of klisheni, and therefore that's why he says it's also aser in a klishlishi. This is the shita of the Mishnah Berurah and the Aruch HaShulchan. Kum tzegein Rebbe Moshe Feinstein Zeichet Tzadik Levracha, the king, and they asked Reb Moshe, Hinei Alei Einam Mevushalim Basiyatzam. He's talking about uncooked tea leaves. They're only dried out. He says, could you make it in a klishlishi? Listen to the goyin Rav Moshe. Lanias daiti leinira klal loimar diika dvarim that are mispashal in klishlishi. No, I don't believe there's anything that cooks in a klishlishi. I guess Rav Moshe was bothered. The only thing in the world that you find that's cooked in a klishlishi, that's a kulias espinus. Nothing else in the world. And we found chumras when it came to klisheni, and only by klisheni, not by klishlishi. Loy matzinu ele klisheni, that's some aser. Or beklishlishi loy matzinu. I the Aruch HaShulchan and Siman Shin Yecheziv Katan Kavches loy muvan zeh. It is not understood. He says mashana royim beinenu. You see when you take a tea bag and it goes into the water and it makes the water all brown and dirty. He says, what shaykhs does that have to do with bishul? He says if you take the tea bag and you put it in cold water, it's also going to get brown. What's a shaykhs? And he says hagei atzmicha. I'll prove it to you. By side, the Gemara says Rabbi Moshe Feinstein has a suffix when it comes to salt. The Gemara has a suffix about salt. Does salt get cooked in a klisheni, or maybe it only gets cooked on the fire? So he says, Rabbi side, I go and taste it. Does it taste salty? The answer is yes. It tastes salty, bain if it's cold, bain if it's hot, bain klisheni, bain klibishin. Says Rabbi Moshe, Elamai, the Indian of bishul when it comes to salt, says the Goyin Rav Moshe, Alma bishulu inyan acher. It has nothing to do with the taste of geklept or not. It has to do with some breakdown. It has nothing to do with ika b'melech idea bishul doisei me'agasha tam melech. It doesn't mean if it's more tasted, because even in cold water it goes in. So it must be Tayelis Bishul that Chazal understood. The Tayelis Bishul, when it comes to salt, has to do with something else. And maybe that Tayelis Bishul only takes place once you cook it in a fire, or no, maybe on a klisheni. Says Rav Moshe, the fact that you see that it changes colors, who says that's an Inyan of Bishul? Shalachein Efsher, he says Rav Moshe, Faket, maybe tea is the hardest thing in the world to cook. Faket manish, maybe tea would be like salt and it would be so difficult. Maybe even in klisheni it's going to be mutter. Maybe tea says it's going to be like a tavlin. Says Rav Moshe Kain ein lanu me'atzmenu klum umemelu kekol stam dover. It's like every other thing that in a klisheni it's a suffix. Interesting. And Moshe Basayv says in a klisheni it's a suffix. And in a klishlishi, you can be makel. This is the Goyin Rav Moshe and Ayin Dalid in Ois Tesvav. Goyin Rav Moshe of Iyar Baisai is the Goyin, but he's chaylik on the Mishnah Berurah. Chaylik on the Mishnah Berurah. So halacha l'maisa Baisai. I don't know. To make I don't know. To go and make a tea in a klishlishi on Shad, I don't know. Klishlishi. such pachad. Such pachad. I don't know. The mice, when you take a tea bag and you put it in the water, Rabbi say, so then if you put it in cold water, it takes a long time to dissipate. It takes a long time, right?
It didn't work.
That which way?
Put in cold water.
It didn't even work. When you take a tea bag, Rabbi say, go and put a tea bag. You know what? Is anybody there next to a tea? Go take a tea bag and put it in cold water. You're going to see it's going to take a very long time. It's going to be, should we go get one?
No.
Go get one. But mommy's going to be upset because we're wasting her good English tea. So take one of the cheap Israeli ones. Yeah. 1 minute. But Rabbi say, I don't know. Maybe that's all the Aruch HaShulchan meant. He meant, look, if you see how quickly it dissipates as opposed to when you put it into cold water. But Ramosha, I think, was nachas to this. And he says, who says that's what's the Kaveh of Bishul? Does anybody here know that that's why? Because it colors it? But I'm not sure if Ramosha is right. Because we find in Chazal, Bishul Samamonim is a Bishul of the dye, which is making the color go in. We found the concept already that the color going in is a Kaveh to see if it's getting this bashal. What the Aruch HaShulchan is saying, when you put it into a Kli Shlishi, it miyad takes it out. I don't know. I'm obviously not arguing on Ramosha. But Al Kapanim Rabbi side, the Mishnah Berurah and the Aruch HaShulchan are not like that. And the Mishnah Berurah and the Aruch HaShulchan all hold that to make a tea in a Kli Shlishi and a Kriya V is asa. So what should I tell you? If your mother comes to you and she makes you a Kli, if she takes a tea bag and she puts in a Kli Shlishi, you don't have to throw it back at her nose. Right? You know, when Tanta Roshaneni comes to you and she makes it, here we go. And she makes you a tea in a Kli Shlishi, she holds like Rav Moshe, right? Look, Rabbi said, this is a real tea bag in the water and nothing's happening. When I shake it up and down, it happens. Look, it's taking a very long time, right? Do you mind just getting a cup of hot water for a second? Look how long it takes. It's really, really, I shook it up and down. I shouldn't have done that. Here, I shook it up and down. I'll do it in here. Okay, now watch this. This is the water without the tea bag. Watch. Look at this. Is a very look, nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. Now they're going to take the same tea bag, which already went through 2 cups, and we're going to put it into hot water. Okay, look, still nothing's happened yet. Look, now we're going to put it into hot water. Look. Oh, it's slowly happening. Oh, it's happening. This went through 2 tea bags already. Rabbi said this has gone already through 2 cups of water. Through 2 cups of water. Look, when it's gone through 2 cups of water, it's already coloring the tea. Can you imagine if it would be a fresh tea bag? Unbelievable. Is Rabbi say that's all that it was, that's all it meant, that's all that Rabbi Moshe meant over here, Rabbi say. Little Fiscus girl, do you see? You see how hot the tea is, little Fiscus girl? Right? Look at that. Look at the tea. Look at that. So I don't know. Halacha Meiser Rabbi say. What should I tell you? The shir is over. It's already late. Rabbi say is metarnished. The Mishnah Berurah and the Aruch HaShulchan say no. If you want to know, is there anybody that agrees with the Goyin Rav Moshe and that holds that you could make a tea in a Kli Shlishi on Shabbos? It's mashma in the Pri Megadim that you could make a tea in a Kli Shlishi on Shabbos. The Pri Megadim's lashon is, he says, it's the first raid in the Pri Megadim. He says in Sivkotin Yud Zayin, he says Ukli Sheni, Ukli Shlishi. Actually, I'm reading the wrong one. Sorry. Here, sorry. Pri Megadim Eshel Avram Sivkotin Lamed Hey. He says Ubeshabes leman de Omar besif Hey. The man de Omar in Sif Hey. Sif Hey is Kalei Bishul. The man de Omar in Sif Hey that answers pas b'klisheni, meaning the man de Machmir on Kalei Bishul. Ha Kli Shlishi betei, but Kli Shlishi in T ukedoima yesh lahakal. He held the only sod in the world to answer T is in Klisheni, lefi the machmirim of Ksiv Hey. But Macha'enkin in a Kli Shlishi, T is mutter, mefurish in the Pri Megadim. He had no tzad, it's like Kulias Espinus. So this is a Veltz Machlekes World War, Rabbi Isai. the Pri Megadim and the Goyin Rav Moshe. And you know who brings this Pri Megadim? Goyin Rebbe Kiva Eger. Goyin Rebbe Kiva Eger brings this Pri Megadim, Rabbi Isai. And the Igros Moshe, he's on the same team as these great Jews, Rabbi Isai. But Manase, Halachos Shulchan, and the Mishabur are not like that. And they say you can't make a tea. Oh, which I tell you, Rabbi Isai. In the meantime, please try to make your tea, make tea scents before Shabbos. And I even let you put the tea scents into a klisheni because it was a previously cooked liquid. So you can even put it, even though it's cold now, you can put it into a klisheni. But why get involved in such a world war? And I don't know, Rabbi Isai, I must tell you one last thing. We're going to look at our tea already. Look at this, Rabbi Isai. I didn't touch it. Look at it. Look at it. All the colors spread so beautifully. Mashenkin, our others, it was just a cup of water. Mama's just a cup of water. I don't know. But I'm not going to even try to get involved over here, science of everything, because I remember a story with Rabbi Yankiv. Should I finish with a story? I remember a story with Rabbi Yankiv. Rabbi Yankiv Kamenetsky was once at a bris milah. Right? You know the story? Shalom Yankiv, you know the story? I should tell the story? Or I should tell the story. I should tell? I should tell. The story was like this. The story was Rabbi Yankiv was once at a bris milah. And there was a Rabbi, Dr. Moyle, that was doing the bris milah. There's a Rabbi, Dr. Moyle, doing the bris milah. And I just get nervous if Chazal say, if the science is one way, and I'm not offering my scientific opinions anymore. We have to go with Kabbalahs of Chazal. Bain for Moshe, Bain for the Aruch HaShulchan. I'm just saying, I'm not going to even try my own, Rabbi Yankiv was once at a bris. They opened up the baby was yellow. They looked at the baby. So, Gavena Gela, baby's yellow. So Rabbi Yankiv says, Metonish machen the milah, because the baby's yellow. Right, it looked like this cup of tea of it. Right, there he's yellow. So the Moyle said, no, it's okay. It's okay. We could do the milah. So Rabbi Yankiv said, no, but Maisa, Chazal say that you can't do the milah when the baby's yellow. So the doctors, who was a Rabbi, Dr. Moyle, he said, no, the Maisa, today the doctors, they don't hold like that, because they say that even a baby that does on yellow and whatever, nothing can happen to the baby. It's all not true today. So the Rabbi Yankiv said, no, but the Rambam's Yogiv and a doctor. The Rambam's Yogiv and a doctor. So the Rabbi Moyle doctor, he turned to Rabbi Yankiv and he said to him, Volte gewend the Rambam. He said in Yiddish, because it sounds more for him. Volte gewend the Rambam doctor, so gewend du heint, it nicht gewend kein doctor. If the Rambam would be here today, he wouldn't be a doctor. Yeah, he wouldn't be nechshav a doctor. No, it didn't say he wouldn't be a landed. So Rabbi Yankiv was so upset. The Rabbi Yankiv Ketzera is not going to be the sandik, and he got up and left. And they did the bris, and the baby died. And Rabbi Yankiv tained afterward that they were Teveya, the covet of the Rambam in Shemayim. The Teveya, the covet of the Rambam in Shemayim. I'm not sure 100% what that story has to do with what we just spoke about, but I knew you wanted to hear it. So Kapanim, I'll see you all tomorrow, Rabbi Isai. I love you all. No games. Unmute my holy brothers and let me say goodbye to them.